Support for Gulf States Gumbo comes from the Britannia Theater, uptown in New Orleans, playing new movies, classics, and unique programming. Join the Britannia for Downton Abbey and One Battle After Another on 70mm film. Information at thebritannia.com for all showtimes.
From the Gulf States newsroom, this is the Gulf States Gumbo, your weekly serving of stories from Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. I'm public health reporter Drew Hawkins, chopping it up this week. On today's show, tariffs touch just about everything, from Hindu holiday staples.
It is hard because that's our regular food.
To auto industry speed dating.
I can get a feel generally for their personality.
Does personality matter in the manufacturing world?
It does me.
That's all coming up on the Gulf States Gumbo. Hindus, Jains, Sikhs, and some Buddhists celebrated Diwali this week, the Festival of Lights. But this year, many living in the U.S. had their preparations complicated by tariffs. From our partner station WBHM in Birmingham, Vahani Shori has more.
Shilpa Desai works at Jubilee Groceries in Vestavia Hills, Alabama. She's prepping for the busy holiday rush.
Everybody gonna buy like a diyas and sweets and all the groceries and they're gonna get prepared for the puja, like a worship.
But this year, steep tariffs on goods from India mean that the store has had to increase their prices on pretty much everything. Even staple goods like wheat flour, peanut oil, and rice.
It is said sooner or later it's gonna affect the people, yeah.
Desai is really worried about customers not being able to afford what they would normally buy for Diwali, which is also when many people here stock up for the year.
It is hard because that's our regular food. Middle class, they cannot afford. So, sorry, I'm going to get tears, but yeah. So, that's hurt me, yeah.
Now, some economists say that consumers may have to start evaluating which goods they must buy from India and which they can get cheaper from somewhere else. Lena Mosley is a professor of politics and international affairs at Princeton University.
What they really do is undercut the efficiency that we have as a result of international trade, right? Our ability to buy rice that's grown in other countries, which is much cheaper, of course, than rice in the US, or our ability to buy a bunch of different varieties of rice, depending on our preferences, is really diminished when you have tariffs in place.
And since these tariffs are so tied to U.S. foreign policy,
I think that suggests that many of these tariffs are kind of here to stay for quite some time, right? And we're still, I think, only beginning to see the economic impact of these tariffs.
For now, consumers like Shilpa Desai are doing their best.
And I normally cook my food at home. So, especially in Diwali time too, I do everything at home.
In between working 2 jobs, she's still planning to cook a mountain of food for friends and family this year, even while feeling the effects of these tariffs.
The Gulf States Newsroom is a team of journalists working with NPR and local public media stations in Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana to cover the issues that matter to you. Email us, connect@gulfstatesnewsroom.org.
Let's say you're in the car-making business and you want to avoid tariffs. You could buy American, but how do you meet those American companies providing everything from raw steel to finished parts to staffing? One option is speed dating. Our economic mobility reporter, Stephan Bisaha, reports from a car maker matchmaking day.
Come on in, find your buyers, have a seat, and happy selling.
The ballrooms in Huntsville, Alabama's Von Braun Center aren't exactly romantic. There are the fluorescent lights, those gray conference room dividers, and with more than 180 sellers, it's pretty loud. But one thing it does have in common with actual dating are the jitters.
So how's the speed dating been going? Nerve-wracking?
Jack Grace is the director of sales for Landrum Workforce Management.
Because you get 5 minutes to either get it right or not get it right.
And yep, that's the way it goes. 5 minutes for sellers like Grace to pitch buyers like Honda and Volkswagen before it's on to the next date. The Southern Automotive Conference has been doing this matchmaking event for 13 years. The big idea here is to make networking easier. Yes, it's only 5 minutes, but Grace says that's way better than the typical conference experience, where you're trying to find a buyer and only end up pitching to another salesman.
You're both wasting each other's time. They're selling your product to somebody who can't buy it. Having this environment where it's very distilled, albeit a little chaotic, is really interesting.
And one thing that's got everyone's interest this year are tariffs.
Oh, yeah. I have a ton of customers that are moving tools back from overseas.
Courtney Bowling is with the quality assurance company Stratosphere Quality.
I'm talking 3 and 4 and 5 machines that are bringing parts back from overseas to start manufacturing here in Alabama. It's more jobs for American workers, so I love that.
And the tariffs have the name brand car makers here looking more closely at these American suppliers. Marlena Melatine's here on the buyer side of the table, representing the joint Mazda-Toyota factory in Alabama.
We're looking for ways that we can maybe save money with tariffs being what they are now. So we're just open to whatever's out there.
Of course, those tariffs are motivating the buyers here through financial pain. Doug Drake is with Baxter Enterprises. The company provides tools and finished parts for automakers like Mercedes and BMW. And the cost of materials Drake gets from overseas are shooting up.
I'm seeing anywhere from 15 to 50%, depending on what it is.
15 to 50%? 50% is pretty high.
Yeah. That's some on some of the metal clips and components. Yeah, it's 50%.
Now, Drake's not here just looking for the supplier with the lowest price. He wants to meet someone he'll actually want to work with.
I like to be able to shake hands with them, meet them face to face. I can get a feel generally for their personality.
Does personality matter in the manufacturing world?
It does to me.
I'm Chris Miller.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Chris Miller is with Olympic Steel out of Georgia. He's making the speed dating rounds, trying to suss out if the buyers want the steel or some of the other materials he's got to sell. And if not, well, sometimes a 5-minute meeting is more like a 1-minute meeting.
Or under a 1-minute meeting. So it's kind of, you kind of can get that feel pretty quick.
The thing is, for all the effort that goes into this event to make getting FaceTime easier, and even with the tariff boost, breaking into a car company supply chain is just hard. It could take years for a supplier to get their parts onto an actual car.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. Pleasure.
About 2 hours into matchmaking, Miller is wrapping up, and he does get some FaceTime that lasts longer than a minute.
Hey, so last meeting, how did it go?
Went good. Yeah, got a card, and that could be a potential good one.
And that's what Miller's looking for today. Not a deal or a handshake agreement, but a business card, a contact, a chance for a follow-up and a longer second date. Because when it comes to changing up the supply chain, even the car world takes things slow.
You're listening to the Gulf States Gumbo. I'm Drew Hawkins, and I'm here with Stephan Bisaha, fresh from auto industry speed dating. Hi, Stephan.
Hey, Drew. I did pick up some numbers, but they were just like license plate numbers. So I don't think that really does us any good.
Yeah, good luck with that. I don't know if you can swipe right on those. But you, now you were at the Southern Automotive Conference for the speed dating, but I gather you stuck around to find out more about the state of the South's massive car-making industry. So what did you learn?
Well, the big thing I learned about was EVs, or really how they're actually not a big thing anymore. So a number of years ago, the South was all in on EVs. Like, we're actually just finishing up this Georgia battery plant, this Hyundai one that's huge. Other plants have been retooling to make EVs. I remember being at the Alabama Mercedes plant that really, a couple years ago when it first started rolling out electric vehicles. It was huge. But EV sales they just haven't been there. And there's also been this loss of federal EV incentives to encourage people to buy EVs and make them cheaper. So car makers are pivoting away from all electric cars. And they're not going fully away from electric, but it looks like hybrids are going to be the main thing that they're kind of investing into the future to kind of bridge that gap before we have our kind of still likely all electric future.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Gulf South, we're really rural. Sometimes it can be a really long distance between one charging station and the next. But is there any good news for someone who maybe just bought an EV?
Yeah, and actually to just what you were talking about, Alabama used to be ranked pretty low when it came to how good it was to own an EV in the state. It was ranked 31st. Recently, it jumped to 13th this past year because there's just a lot more fast charging stations in the state. The state's made a pretty big effort with different grant funding to make that happen, and they said there is more grant funding coming to fuel EV charging stations coming to Alabama.
Oh, that's interesting. But getting back to the tariff subject, I know a lot of fast relationships happening in this speed dating, but did the car makers say anything more about what changes they're making because of the tariffs?
So what's interesting is they're actually not changing that much. The head of Mazda Toyota's car factory in Alabama was at this conference and said their supply chain is looking stable, but still facing uncertainty because of the, unpredictability of the Trump administration's trade policies. Lamar Whitaker was also there. He's the head of Honda's Alabama plant, and he says they've long made most of their cars sold in the U.S. with parts in a supply chain that's mostly domestic.
No, we're not making a drastic change in our supply chain to relocate production to the U.S.
But Whitaker did say that they have shifted production around North America. Like the Alabama Honda plant will be more about making cars for the American market, not for exporting elsewhere, which is actually a big part of the U.S. car industry is exporting to other markets. Instead, the plant in Canada will be focused more on making cars to ship to other countries instead.
Yeah, I know that one of the things that you've reported on before is this challenge for car makers in the South to find enough workers. Is that still a challenge?
Yeah, it is. So something we haven't talked about for a while is the tight labor market and hiring in the South. But that is still a thing, and it's been an issue for a number of years and an issue these plants in the South face. At the conference, I'd heard engineers in particular are hard to keep. And these car makers are actually trying to appeal to younger workers who want more flexible hours and trying to provide more work-life balance. Now, that is hard at a factory when, you have sudden surges in demand and sudden off periods. Like, flexible doesn't exactly fit the factory mindset. But car makers said they were experimenting with this. And they did make this pitch that was ironic to me when it comes to workers, that essentially auto manufacturing jobs are AI-proof, or at least more AI-resistant. And, they will still need workers at these plants even as AI changes just about everything else around us. And it does feel like this weird turn from the fact that we used to talk about automation and robots taking away these blue-collar manufacturing jobs, particularly at car plants. And that definitely happened. But now it feels like the white-collar jobs, like marketing, are getting threatened much more by AI. And blue-collar manufacturing jobs, at least according to the pitch by these car makers, are safer.
Stephan Bisaha is our economic mobility reporter. Stephan, thank you for talking with me, and I hope that you and everyone at this speed dating event are able to find some closure for any relationships that didn't work out.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with my old reliable car, stick with my old relationship. But thanks, Drew.
It's safer, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, wait, before you go, Stephan, it's time for Gulf States Gems. It's our chance to brag about some of our favorite treasures from the region. And I know you just went to Huntsville, so I'm curious, do you have a gem from us from your trip?
Yeah, actually, so, part of the deal with reporting is not accepting gifts, which can mean when you're covering a conference, not eating the food that they put out for everyone there. So that meant for me sprinting between panels, rushing around over to the Embassy Suites Hilton Hotel next to the Von Braun Center. And they had this restaurant there called the Co-op Community Table and Bar. And very hotel restaurant name. And I'm not someone who normally brags about hotel restaurant food, but it really hit the spot and really saved my sanity. They had these incredible chicken wraps, pimento grilled cheese, and these flat, wide fries I just became obsessed with. So great service, got me back to the trade show fast, and really saved me from having a growling stomach, ruining any recordings.
As you can see, pictures of more Gulf States gems from across the region on our Instagram, and we want to hear about a place you consider a gem. It's a restaurant, bookstore, natural park, whatever you think. Send us your suggestion. Email connect@gulfstatesnewsroom.org. This week's show is cooked up by the Gulf States Newsroom team. Our theme music is by DJ Supreme. Special thanks to our partner stations, WBHM, Mississippi Public Broadcasting, WWNO, and WRKF. You can find us in your podcast feeds every Friday, so look us up and be sure to subscribe. Again, I'm your host, Drew Hawkins. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to stir your room.